pretty eerie being out here. There's like no boat traffic. We're pretty much all alone out here. Welcome to the Aqua-Cultured channel, featuring my 1989 44-foot DeFever offshore cruiser, and myself, Ashley Ringelspaw, aka Captain Butch. Join me as we perform some boat maintenance and repairs, and enjoy the benefits that come with this amazing lifestyle. I have been living aboard for the last 12 years, and I look forward to sharing with you what I have learned and the experiences that happen along the way. This is the Aqua-Cultured life. We are now on part 3 of our trip across Florida on this 64-foot Hatters Motoryacht from Fort Lauderdale to Tampa Bay, Florida. If you're just joining in, you may want to go back to part 1 where the journey began. This was probably the nicest weather day on the trip as we say goodbye to the Roland Martin Marina in Clewiston. The sky cleared up and the wind finally slacked off. We made it back through the Clewiston lock with ease and started making our way to the Moorhaven Lock and Dam, which was a short run to the northeast. I have to say it, sometimes it's nice to kick things up a notch, get on plane, and just cruise. Especially when I'm not paying for the fuel. You'll notice that there are these groups of pilings, aka dolphins, that are positioned just outside of the locks. These are free for you to tie off to for the night to wait for the lock to open the next day. You can tie your stern off to one and your bow off to the other. I believe the Moorhaven Lock is also known as the Julian King Jr. Lock. Now that we're on the west side of Lake Okeechobee, the water level will be dropping to get us back down to sea level. This one dropped around 3 to 4 feet. It's always fun to look for stickers on the lock walls that you may recognize. If you would prefer not to tie off to dolphins, there are other options along the route, like the Moorhaven City Docks, where you'll pay $1 per foot and have dockside power, water, and restrooms. Now that we're on the Caloosahatchee, we have a long day ahead of us. Our goal is to make it to the Crow's Nest Marina in Venice by sundown, which is another 125 miles away. Until then, we'll take in the scenery, which includes more nothingness, marinas sprinkled in here and there, and boats of all different sizes and shapes. This DeFever 52 is one of my favorites. Unfortunately, it looks like it's in need of some TLC. There are also some pretty sweet homes and properties as you cruise down the canal. You do have to clear some bridges on this route, including this swing bridge. And remember, you hail the bridge operators on Channel 9 in the state of Florida. And we just have a couple of locks yet to go, including the Ortona lock and finally the Franklin lock before we're all the way back down to sea level once again. Here's another one of my favorites, a Hatteras long-range cruiser just off to the right. Maybe a 58 or a 65. If you know, let us know down in the comments below. As you move farther west, you start to see signs of increased civilization. However, we're now approaching the Fort Myers area that is still freshly reeling from Hurricane Ian just a few short months ago. Hurricane Ian came ashore in this area as a high-end Category 4 hurricane. It's hard to imagine what a storm like this can do unless you experience it firsthand. This was once a popular cruising ground with marinas that have now been decimated. You can see the boats that have been totaled are still being cleared from the water. Cruising through this area sits very heavy on me, as this could have easily been my home port, as it was predicted to be early on in the forecast of this devastating storm. Fortunately, the main channel was still well marked and free of obstacles. All bets were probably off if you deviated from the channel or went closer to shore or down any of the canals. We went over some fairly shallow spots, but we were never at risk of touching bottom with the vessel's 4.8-foot draft. Rather than go out around the south end of Sanibel Island, we decided to make our turn north and head up Pine Island Sound, and then head out Boca Grande Pass out into the Gulf of Mexico. Alright, so currently we are in Pine Island Sound, which is just to the east of Sanibel Captiva. So this area was a whole different world a little over a month ago when Hurricane Ian was coming through. And it's pretty eerie being out here. There's like no boat traffic. We're pretty much all alone out here. Coming out of Fort Myers, there are a few boats coming and going, mostly salvage operation. They have cleaned a lot of the vessels out already, but there's still a lot of destruction in Fort Myers Yacht Basin and Legacy Harbor and other marinas and the surrounding areas. But we didn't have any issue coming through the channel. It was nice and clear, plenty of water, so no issues, thankfully. And so we're just cruising along at about 20 knots, heading towards Venice. We left Clewiston this morning and cleared the Caloosahatchee Waterway, and we're making good time. Should be in Venice by sundown, hopefully, but so far so good. Here's where Jimmy Buffett's Cheeseburger in Paradise was originated, on Cabbage Key. And now we've officially made it from the Atlantic Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico by cutting right through the state of Florida. It always feels great when you make it out into the Gulf and you can just set your course and go. How many of you saw the dolphin leaping out of the water as if they were happy to see us? And the rest of the day, well, this right here is when you think to yourself, yeah, this is what it's all about. Being the only boat as far as the eye can see out on the ocean, with calm conditions and a breathtaking Florida West Coast sunset. This is why I do what I do, and all of the hard work over the years has afforded me to experience priceless moments like this. And just as planned, 140 miles and 9 hours of travel today, we're pulling into the Venice Inlet to tie off at Crow's Nest Marina just as the sunset afterglow fades to night. The Crow's Nest is a great little marina located just inside the inlet with a very easy access to the Gulf of Mexico and Intracoastal Waterway. They also have a great restaurant on site and you can easily walk to the beach. We departed at a reasonable time the next morning for our final leg of the trip, which was only about 55 miles up the coast to Madeira Beach, Florida, located in the Tampa Bay region. The weather was not quite as nice as the previous day. The breeze was up and we had overcast skies. Seas were running around 4 to 5 feet for the first half of the run. Being at the lower helm in a 64-foot Hatteras humming along at 20 knots is not a bad place to be in weather like this. The boat is definitely going to need a freshwater rinse after we get settled at the home port. Well, maybe a little more than that. Apparently the previous owner installed some exterior speakers up forward of the flybridge and didn't do a great job of sealing up the penetrations. Of course, there's always something on a boat. As we grew closer to our destination, the wind and seas subsided, making for a pleasant cruise for the remainder of the trip. We entered into John's Pass Inlet, which is oh so familiar to me because this is where my longtime cruising grounds are. The John's Pass Inlet was actually formed by a hurricane back in 1848 and it divides Madeira Beach from Treasure Island. And there's nothing like a half-operating drawbridge to squeeze through right at the end. There you have it. We made the approximate 375-mile journey from Fort Lauderdale to Madeira Beach in 4 days. I hope you enjoyed the content and that you may have seen some things you wouldn't have otherwise known about or experienced. I would very much appreciate it if you give the video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. It really does help. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't already. And remember, if you're not floating, you're sinking. So stay afloat, my friends. I hope to see you next time.